I'm too tall.
You're fine.
Oh no, my head's cut off.
You wanted the taller chair. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Okay. Today is Sunday,
July 22nd, 2018.
our third and final day in,
Florence, Italy.
and what a day it was.
It was a day. Wonderful day.
Yes, it was a wonderful day. And so we started the day, we had our alarm set for 7, and we said, that's not enough. Give us another half an hour. So we slept till 7:30, and the plan was to get nice and bright and early over to the Florence Cathedral, the Duomo. And after breakfast, how well did that plan work?
Oh, it was great. We got there by, what, 9? 9:30?
9:30ish, yeah.
Okay.
And did we get into the cathedral right then?
It was great because Sundays it doesn't open until 1:30.
They had Mass on Sunday, so that plan didn't quite go according to plan, but everything worked out despite that. In fact, maybe it was better. And so first we went... Okay, remember, we're recording.
I know.
So all your funny quirks and things...
Well, I was trying not to yawn.
That you don't think about other people seeing, even though they do see, they will definitely see. So first we went into the Bapistry in front of the cathedral.
That's right.
Which is no line, which is nice. We got right in there.
Right in there.
And
no line.
Part of it was being renovated, but the scaffolding had basically like an artwork of the inside overlaid over it. So I didn't even notice for a little bit that it was scaffolding. Not that I was taking pictures of it, but you wouldn't know. It was really cool.
Very nice.
And from there we went to the Duomo Museum.
I remember.
Remember that? What did you like about the Duomo Museum?
It was all about the Duomo.
Yes, there
Museum.
was that.
Was that today?
That was today. Yeah, they had like models of when people competed to design the new exteriors, and they had lots of sculptures. Oh, and some of the original doors.
Right. Oh, yes, I remember.
They're like all gold plated and like
right.
And it's carved out, and lots of cool stuff at the museum. Maybe the highlight for me was Brunelleschi's terrace, which was the 3rd floor of the museum, or 4th floor American, because the museum is directly behind the cathedral, behind the Duomo. And so you get up on this outside terrace, and it's just right in front of your face is a great view of the back of the Duomo and the dome itself.
Yeah.
And so we sat out there for a while, which was nice. And so we said that there was Mass, so we couldn't go into the cathedral until 1:30. So we had a lot of time, which gave us, a lot of opportunity to do some things. And I said, I want to try climbing the bell tower. Again,
14,000 feet in the air.
No, it's but it was like 440 steps or something. I think it's
straight up.
I want to say it's like
in the air,
at least 500 feet up, something like that.
It was high.
Steps wise, I don't know if that makes sense.
You got pretty high, didn't you?
Each step is not a foot, so maybe it's not quite that high, but it's probably at least 300-400 feet. And Dad sat outside in the shade.
It was wonderful. I had my camp stool, and I played some free cell, and then I caught the fans and watched people walk by, and very interesting.
And then so I had to wait for about 15 minutes in the hot sun for the line to get in. And then once you get in, fortunately, this was a challenge for me because I've always wanted to go up it.
And I always wanted to sit until he went up it.
And like I said probably before, I like getting up into high places, but I get some vertigo. So as long as I don't look down and I'm going up a mountain, or I can just go up something. So this was well suited for that because it's like a tall square bell tower, and the stairs up were kind of in the columns. Like a lot of it was either like spiraling up or like going directly from one column to the next. And it was a workout. So there was a couple different levels, and
I have to keep him entertained because otherwise he gets really serious.
Is that what you're sitting doing the whole time? You were like practicing your moves?
No.
When I was climbing?
I don't have to practice them.
You'd go up like 100 feet and like you'd stop and rest. And I finally got to the top. and there's an inside area, so I will sit there for 5-6 minutes, catch my breath, and there's a couple stairs, one on each side to get to the outside, which fortunately is all fenced in, but it's still up again some 300-400 feet or more. And so I went out for a minute and I saw the view and I came back in because I was like, okay, this is high. And then I went out the other side because I wanted to see both sides, but I was able to I made my way all the way around. So I felt like I saw everything, and I saw all of Florence from probably the best view, probably better than the Duomo because you see the Duomo in the view instead of being on top of it from the Duomo climb.
Well, I have a question. When you went up there, were you able to see the Duomo?
I was able to see you,
actually. And me.
I didn't see you from the exact top, but from the landing about 3/4 of the way up. Once I was coming down, I felt a little more secure. You look out the grating and look all the way down, and there you were.
There I was, just sitting playing free cell.
Pretty much. And I took a couple pictures, and I made my way down, and I felt really good, especially because I kind of didn't do the Duomo the other day, which I'd wanted to do. And then we were like, okay, by then it was like almost 12:30. Duomo opened up at 1:30. We're like, okay, good. We've got like 45 minutes, an hour. Hopefully we'll be one of the first people in line for when it opens. Were we one of the first people in line?
Well, let me put it this way. We were the first person in line where we were standing. But there were a lot of people in
So we were maybe one of the first 500 people in the line.
Exactly.
And so the line went maybe 2/3 away around the side of the cathedral.
Right.
And so what happened next? I'm doing a lot of talking.
What happened next was Brian opened my chair, so I sat down, and then he got us lunch, which was a delicious bagel with cream cheese and lox and other stuff on there.
Were you expecting that in Italy?
I was not expecting that in Italy at all.
It was like a coffee shop.
It was delicious. And
plus you had an apricot juice.
Apricot juice.
And pomelo juice.
Right. And then I found this nice painting of violins, which we bartered down. The guy wanted €35. And Brian said, no, how about 5?
I was like, maybe it was 5.
Right. And he said, give me 10. And I said, no.
And then he was like, oh, you said 5? How much did you say? How much?
Right. So I
acting like it was a crazy price.
Right. Exactly.
But he was like, oh, they're thinking about it.
Right.
Here's a sale.
And ironically, I had seen him sell to someone else a similar type of painting for €5. So I decided I'm going to try to get him down to 5. He said, well, how about 10? I said, no. He goes, how about 8? And I said, well, how about 5? He goes, okay. And he took 5.
Dad got his. I was not in favor of the purchase, but once you got it down to 5, it was like, okay.
Yeah, it was nice.
You rolled it up in elastic. Even if it gets crushed on the way home, it was only €5.
Exactly. And it was good bartering with this guy.
And you had fun with it.
Exactly. It was worth €5 to even just barter with him.
And then you were like, well, because you had sat for like an hour while I was climbing the bell tower and for a while when I got food. And you're like, I'm up. I want to stand. And so I sat in the chair for like 30, 40 minutes.
Right. As we slowly worked our way towards the entrance to the Duomo.
Because we probably sat for 45 minutes before it even opened. And then it took us an hour to get in. Because, it was nice because they were like only letting a small amount of people in the Duomo at the time. So once you got in, it was a good atmosphere.
And actually it took us like 45, 50 minutes. It was a little bit less than an hour, but it was still a long wait.
Yeah, I remember it being like 2:35 or something when we got it. Remember like 2:30 we got in.
We got in actually 2:26. I was looking at my watch.
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
Could have been 2:25. It was probably 2:26, but who cares? Come on, tell them the rest of the story. We had a lot more to there's more to come in this episode.
It's the limoncello. He's having a hard time. He's slurring his words over here.
Limoncello.
You're getting ahead of the story. And so how was the cathedral? You were not as big into the inside.
I was not that impressed with the inside of the Duomo because it was one big cathedral. The ceiling was beautiful, at least where the chapel was.
He took his pictures and he turned around and I said, hey, that's a giant ceiling and it's way up there and it's super interesting. And It kind of hurt my neck, but like I spent at least 5-10 minutes just like looking at it.
I took a picture and I said, I'm going down to the gift shop, which actually I thought the bathrooms were there. And the gift shop there's an Italian word, stinky. So, it took me about 2 minutes.
As in there wasn't good
It
options.
wasn't good options at all.
Well, you mentioned the bathroom first, so we got to be clear. There was no bathroom there.
And so I came up and I talked to one of the guards, and he said, "Oh, no bathroom here. Go outside and please wait in the line."
Why would we wait in line? We were done. We already waited in the line for like 2 hours.
That's why I was confused.
Georgia would have been proud of how well we waited in the line.
Oh, please. So we went out, and Brian...
Okay. First of all...
I'm sorry.
One of the things I loved about is when you look on the outside of the dome, there's all these like holes, but I mean symmetrical. There's maybe like 9 on each face of it. And when you look at the interior painting, you see those holes, and not only are they there, but they're like integrated into the Last Judgment depiction.
Yes.
And so that was really
one of the
cool.
nice things about Italy. It's not a segregated country; it's integrated. I don't know. That just came out.
What the hell are you talking about?
Well, you talk about the integrated holes. I was happy that it was integrated.
Okay, I get it now.
As opposed to segregated.
This could even get worse, so let's move on. It's a video. It's not a still picture. Okay. I can't concentrate.
Got him to laugh. Oh, the best is yet to come. So don't turn this off if you're watching.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Gilstein, remember that.
So I was gonna say you were like a little spoiled by St. Peter's Basilica, by San Maggiore, because those are like
and that thing that we saw
detailed, like head to tail. Or
St. Peter's Basilica,
the one I just mentioned,
and the Sistine Chapel and the Vatican.
Oh, right. So it's a little more. The inside of the Florence Cathedral is not meant to be wall to wall decoration, unless the dome was pretty well.
The outside is wonderful. The inside, boring.
Amazing.
Boring.
And so next, you got some cha-chas.
It's tchotchkes. Tchotchkes means...
I think you've used both terms today.
Cha-cha is a dance.
I made a run back to the hotel because I wanted to get my good headphones for the tour we had coming up. You found a spot to park with your chair. I brought us back a Sprite for you and apricot juice for me.
That was helpful.
And then we walked... it was basically right off of the Piazza Signoria, just down a side street, and we opened the heaviest door I've ever pushed in one of these just buildings in Florence. We took an elevator up, and we found our tour guide. And tell us about our tour guide.
Our tour guide she looked like she was, 40-ish, something like that. And her name was Lori, and I started talking with her. I said, "Where are you from?" She said, "I'm from Brooklyn."
Know anyone from there?
No. And I said, "Oh."
Just your parents and your brother?
I said, "I'm from Brooklyn, too." So we became fast good buddies. And she said she had gone to Florence about 20 years ago to study art and fell in love with Florence and has been there ever since as a tour guide. And
she was excellent.
And very, very nice woman.
You could tell she really had passion for what she did, even though it was her second Uffizi Gallery tour of the day, and she does it 5 days a week. No, she did Academia in the middle. She told us.
And she said something else. She said, "This is my third."
Right. She did Uffizi in the morning, Academia, another Uffizi.
Right.
But I mean, she just took us to the highlights of the museum. We saw before the pre-Renaissance depictions of altars for churches and the Virgin and the angels. And
I don't know if you know, but there are a lot of churches in Italy.
Yes, lots of religious pictures, if not all of them.
Right. And for a Jewish guy, after a while, whatever.
You see enough blood dripping from Christ's arms for the last lifetime.
Right. But the Uffizi Gallery was wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So we saw that pre-Renaissance style, and then we saw, I forget his name, the guy with all the horse paintings from the different angles, showing off having new perspective after Brunelleschi figured it out. And then we went into, just like the highlights. We saw all the most famous Botticellis. We saw that one Michelangelo. I forget the one before that. We saw some Raphael.
We saw a few Michelangelos.
But you said there was only one painting.
But in one room there were 3 or 4, and then the round one was in another room. So her math is off. Probably.
No, that was Da Vinci. We're talking about Da Vinci. That one room that was all him. He did the Annunciation.
Oh, right. They're not the same person.
We saw the painting where
they're both Italian.
He worked on the details of his master. I forget his name. And when the master came back and saw what he did, he gave up painting. He never painted again. Right. We saw an unfinished one, which showed kind of his process, the Annunciation, how he knew people would walk in a certain angle in the church, and so he made the perspective. So your first...
Those are the people who were drunk, and they would walk at this angle, and it was very strange.
It's almost like you don't appreciate art. It's almost like...
I've had friends named Art, and I appreciated them.
And then and then the tour wrapped up on this terrace, which had like the best view of Ponte Vecchio and the Dome and the bell tower. And then the museum was almost closing, so I made one last run through to take a couple more pictures, which is nice because there's hardly anyone there in the rooms.
And I was left on my own wits and saw this guy who looked like he was in his 40s, who had a Cornell shirt on, and I went and said, "Oh, you went to Cornell?" And, "Oh, yes, I graduated in 1998, and my son here just graduated this year." I said, "Oh, I'm a graduate also from Cornell." And they both
showed him the hat.
I showed him the hat, my Cornell lacrosse hat, and I said, "Yes, class of 1492," just to say that I was a little older than them. And he also had a very nice daughter.
He laughed.
Oh, he laughed.
Let's
yes.
be clear.
Sorry. And they had a very nice daughter, and she said, "No, I went to Delaware," and I said, "Hey, I live in Maryland, not too far," and I said, "Plus, of the 3 of you, you're definitely the cutest." And the father said, "And she has a lot more going for her than either my son or myself." So we talked, and it was just a very nice interchange. And I threw that word in to show you how smart I am. Interchange.
He's only a neuropsychologist. He's not a psychiatrist.
I'm Dr. Gilstein. That's right.
And then,
an expert in traumatic brain injury and sons.
Sons, 3 of them.
3 of them. My 3 sons. I love them a lot. Brian, Matthew, and Dylan Scott.
Fair. That was good. And then we met a couple who, in the lift, because we were taking the elevator down, and they're about...
In Italy, it's called a lift.
Elevator lift, right? And the guy was like, "Oh, my knees can't do the stairs anymore." And we were talking to them. We had to walk all the way through the first floor again to get out, which we hadn't seen any of it, so it was kind of like, okay, like a fast glimpse of the high Renaissance period.
Just basically, they were throwing everyone out because it was about to close.
It was time to go. But the cool part was that today was their 30th wedding anniversary.
Very nice. From Florida. Right, can't have everything, but they were from Florida.
And so, it was nice talking to them for a bit. But then we had a dinner reservation, and you were like, "How far is it?" And you were getting all grumpy. Actually, you didn't get grumpy. I wasn't
grumpy. I just
you did awesome. You walked and walked and walked today.
And my right leg was killing me.
My legs were killing me too.
And his legs were killing him. Both
all
of
the
his
walking in the
legs.
museum, from the 450 steps up, 450 steps down in the bell tower, from back and forth in the hotel. But it was about a 10-minute walk. Oh, so one of the cool things. Do you want to tell the corridor story?
No.
Okay, so this is already too long. Stop it. In one of the long story short, one of the people ruling Florence, his wife wanted to move over the river, but he didn't want to walk because he thought he'd get assassinated. So they built this long corridor through the Uffizi, down and around over the Ponte Vecchio, and we got to see where it was. And then basically afterwards, that was the exact path we walked.
Over the river and through the woods.
Right, through the Uffizi, along the river, across the river, under Ponte Vecchio, which we hadn't been over yet. And
we get to this, finally, Brian gets us to this hotel. He tells me there's this restaurant hotel. I'm going...
Which I've had reserved for a couple weeks.
Yeah, sure. So then we get in this 2-person lift.
The tiniest elevator I've ever been in.
Really?
We basically had to hug each other.
Yeah, which was very nice. Very nice. And we got up there to where the hotel was, and then we had to go through the main lobby, whatever, main registration place. And oh yes, the restaurant is there, which we had to go up through more stairs.
Another stairs, and then we were outside, and you went to the bathroom, and he was like, "Okay, he's in the bathroom. I'll bring you to the table." And there was another like steep, little spirally staircase, and I was like, "Oh, Dad, I'm so sorry."
And actually, I looked. I wasn't that upset. I looked. I said, "What the fuck? More stairs?" And that was Italian, so you'll translate it later. But I got up there, and the view was unbelievable.
Yeah. So we had, not only we were on top of the hotel, we were then on a high terrace on the very top of the hotel with room for about 10 people. We had our table for 2. And like I said, it was panoramic view of the entire city of Florence, of all the hills. We were across the river, so we could get a great view looking back of Ponte Vecchio. We could see the whole, everything. Santa Croce, Palazzo Vecchio, the Duomo, Lorenzo's
Boboli
Basilica.
Gardens, Pitti Palace.
Yeah, on our
Pitti
side.
Me.
And we saw the sunset. We took a bunch
We
of
even
pictures.
saw the daughter's set, but that's a whole different story.
But the food.
This could have been one of the best, if not the best, dinner I have ever had. Almost 3 hours.
Yeah, we were there for 3 hours, which is awesome.
And everything was just wonderful. And our waiter, Luis,
Was awesome. He totally had like the mustache with the curls on it.
Handlebar
mustache, and he had good English. And he reminded us of Matthew in that he was like very well spoken, knew his wines, knew his food. People would order something, he wanted to guide you to what would be your best experience. Okay, that's great. I suggest this if you like, and stuff like that. And we had the roasted octopus for a starter. Then we had the tarta. What was the pasta? Carpelletti.
Yeah,
Something like that.
Carpelletti with Gino Carpelletti, who just played for the Baltimore Ravens,
with veal and like a ricotta, I think, fondue.
Right.
And then for our mains, we had pistachio encrusted lamb, and we had
and coffee sauce.
In the coffee sauce, right? And then we had the sea bass with awesomeness. I don't remember what it was. It was like a citrus something.
All right, it was a citrus flavored.
You'd have to see the pictures, but it had like this. There's a powdery thing on top, and like it was so good that this bee wanted to eat it. We kept shooing the bee away. And
let's put it. We finished everything. I think we left 2 little sprigs.
Oh, there was the green peppers, the grilled peppers with that one.
All right.
Oh, it was so good. And by now it had been at least 2 hours because we were taking our time. I had a nice glass of wine that he recommended for me. And then I said, Dad, you know what this means?
We have to have dessert here.
Exactly. When you have food that good for 4 different plates, you don't then go to a gelato place. You see what their desserts are. And so what were the 2 we had? We had
the chocolate
souffle
with salted caramel ice cream.
Mm-hmm. We had the semifreddo with it was like ricotta and like frozen olive oil was melting on it, candied oranges, right, and pistachio biscuit. And that was amazing. And we were like, we each had a dish, and we'd like take a bite, and we'd switch the dishes and take a bite and switch. And then finally,
and again, cleaned every plate that we had.
And it was perfect because I wanted to finish the souffle, and you wanted to finish the semifreddo, which I might not have pictured, so it was perfect.
I know.
And then Dad had an espresso.
Right.
Like again, Luis the waiter was just amazing. Like,
yes, in fact, afterwards we went down to where the bar area was
after some limoncello.
Oh right, I forgot the limoncello,
which hit pretty hard.
I don't know why.
We got Dad some pictures. Then we exchanged business cards. He's like, if I ever go to I'll come look you up when I come to the States. And
and then Brian took a picture of me and Luis,
which came out well after we redid it.
Right.
And then
they got a cab.
They called a cab for us, and we got in the cab, and before you knew it, we were back here.
And it was, I keep using the word unbelievable, and It was unbelievable. It was wonderful.
Fantastic day.
Much better than I could ever really even imagine. And I don't know if we told you that the dinner was unbelievable. It was great. One of the best
I made
things
it at
I've
the
ever
bell
had.
tower. We saw some of the most historic art ever created today. We had some of the best food ever created today, with some of the best views that you could possibly see in Florence.
And in fact, with with where we were sitting, I was able to video the whole panorama. And I don't know if I've used this word, but it was wonderful.
You're like, no, keep watching. And I was like, but I can look myself. You're like, no, it's not over. And then I was like, okay, I'll watch your panorama. I love you.
Between the food and the service and the view, and again, as it's got dark, the lights on the Duomo and the lights on the Vecchio and
the lights of the city.
We'll talk about it next week's series. Remember Florence.